podcast. We are here with Mr. Dylan Gephardt and Alex Manning. We're going to go ahead and kind of bless you a little bit with the latest and greatest sports news, talking about the championship round here in the NFL and also go into a lot of NBA news.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with the recap of last week. Drake cursed all four teams, and he cursed all of us watching as well. The two games are just terrible referee calls, terrible. Especially the Rams and the Saints, like the pass interference and all that. Like that's it kind of screwed over the Saints, but it doesn't matter because Drew Brees is going to be 40 years old next year, and he's going to be winning the Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely probably going to be one of the more talked about points in sports here for the next couple of weeks. I feel like that play right there, and even then with both games going into overtime, Patrick Mahomes wasn't even given the option to get on the field and make a chance at actually winning that game. And I feel like people see that, and I feel like both these games are honestly going to have a lot of impact on regulations and rules that the owners may consider coming into the future.
I'm not really sure what you could change because if we were to start adding to where, calls could be reversed, people already complain about the length that it takes to just do what we have right now. And if you throw in anything else, like how long are we talking? Football games they're already pretty long. I mean, I just – You can go ahead.
I mean, people talk about it all the time about like wanting to be able to have. I mean, this is not a new concept. People like challenge penalties and things like that. But everything that I've always heard is that people want to challenge plays that are already been called. They want to challenge a pass interference call. I've heard of options to challenge a no call, which is very significant. And it's definitely something that would have to be worked out in the league office, maybe like within the last 2 minutes or something like that. And it's got to be brought down by New York or something like that. Not necessarily. I mean, they could give coaches, I guess, an extra challenge flag or something along those lines. But that's absolutely that's a game. Get Dez trying to make their team as best they could, and they wasted a year because of a obvious pass interference call.
I mean, I can see it both ways. I mean, that's part of the game is human error. I mean, that's part of the reason why why it's so fun and everything, but then again, like when it's this blatant, like the ball, like the safety wasn't even playing the ball at all. He was playing full on receiver and, whacked him pretty hard before the ball even got there. I can see it both ways here. Being on the receiving end of both of these calls, it's better when it goes your way. But it's basically solidified a Tom Brady ring for his final ring.
I mean, I wouldn't be.
Talked about this a little.
I wouldn't be shortchanging the Rams situation. I still think they can put up a fight against Tom Brady, but I think you did a pretty good point that Tom Brady might be getting his next ring. I don't even want to say last ring because he's 41. Who knows when he's going to stop?
Well, yeah, I said at the very beginning of when we first started the podcast that the Rams were going to the Super Bowl. If you want to go back to episode 1 or 2, you can hear me blatantly say that the Rams were going to the Super Bowl, and it didn't matter who they were playing. But I feel like somehow, some way, Tom Brady's going to pull this victory out, like he does.
And is that because the NFL is in fact rigged?
No, I don't believe so. I just think that it depends on your coaching. Sean McVay is a great coach. I mean, we've seen interviews from him all year round, all of that. Yeah, it just happened to be a coincidence that it's LA versus Boston, and they've had thousands of them in multiple sports, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is. You've had the LA versus Boston sports, but it's just two of the biggest cities going at each other. It's not really just a I mean, the two cities are going to have a rivalry either way. Like, even if it wasn't LA versus Boston, it would still be, it, New Orleans still have put up a big fight as a football city, and they had a lot of hope this year. And honestly, I see them making it back here next year. I mean, the last year they lost in the Minneapolis Miracle, when they botched a tackle. Um, you know, they missed that opportunity last year, and then this year they missed it on a PI call. But I guarantee you next year that they're more diligent and more aggressive in how they approach the season.
Well, won't they have Des Bryant next year?
Well, he's only signed to a 1-year contract,
But
so
I
they.
but I thought that there was, they said that they would like to keep him again next year. Am I correct? I'm pretty sure I
Oh,
saw.
I have no idea. I mean, if they do, yeah, they have Des Bryant. It's another piece to their already stacked team. But with that being said, Drew Brees said that he was staying. So I don't know what that means for Teddy Bridgewater, if he's going to test another team in free agency or if he's going to stay in New Orleans and, you know, ride back up to Drew Brees and not have a chance to prove himself to any other team.
I could
Going
definitely
back.
see Teddy. I just real quick, and then you can take the floor. I could definitely see Teddy, and I think it's more probable that Teddy will not be on this team next year. And then, yeah, go ahead for it, Austin.
Yeah, I agree with you right there as well. But going back to what you said earlier a little bit about the reviews and things like that, how long the football game is. I feel like if you're going to review things such as touchdowns, and you're going to have the idea of challenges, and you're going to they introduced the pylon cam not too long ago, a couple years ago, that they do all this, they do full measures on that kind of thing. They always want to make sure when they have a replay that they can have the best possible replay. I feel like they're taking a half measure though when they refuse to look over game-changing decisions like that. I'm not a big half measure guy. I feel like if you're going to do something, you need to do it all right. I do understand not being able to challenge a holding call because it happens every play, or like a roughing the passer or something like that. I feel like there is definitely a spot for it. I feel like somewhere in the future of this game, maybe whether it be next season or in the future, I feel like they'll definitely figure out a solution to that everybody can really benefit from.
Well, I think it would have to be in the same kind of format that the NBA uses. They have people in New York. They have a whole center strictly designed to watch every NBA game. They got a guy for every game, and if they ever need to come to the booth, they call them up and they say, what's the verdict, and they tell them this is out on this person, or it's this call, it's a flagrant, and so forth. I think it has to be something like that. You got to have somebody in the booth to make the final call.
So, what do you do there with a no call like that pass interference? Do they? I mean, I guess they would have 40 seconds, at least less than 40 seconds, to make a call down to the field and say, "Stop play. We need to review this." Like, how does that work for you on a football standpoint?
Well, that's a good question. It's kind of hard to think about it like that because I know with the NBA, let's say that there is a foul called and it's a common foul, but they're iffy on it. They go to the booth and they call them up and they review it, and then it's deemed a flagrant, or flagrant 2 after it's under review. And you're saying if
Yeah.
it's a no call, how do we go about
Well,
deciding?
it was. I believe there was an issue there where the refs did talk it over for a minute. They did, like, after the play, the refs talked for a second and they decided on the no call and everything like that, which, I mean, is a big deal. It was just there's even video of one ref reaching for his flag but the thing is, he was across the field. That wasn't necessarily his jurisdiction to throw the flag on, so he kind of kept his laundry in his pants a little bit and didn't throw the flag and things like that. So I think it's definitely a big deal. I don't know how and that's the problem right there is you get with the no call. I mean, there is the option of a coach challenge, but like I said, I don't know if I like that, especially because they were within 2 minutes in overtime. I don't like that play necessarily. I feel like that needs to be something that needs to be handled, not necessarily I feel like it needs to be handled by someone in the stadium. Something like an unbiased, basically an extra ref. Add an extra ref that's going to be up in the booth, that can throw a penalty or that can challenge a no call or something like that. But I feel like that might also be frustrating too when it's not very obvious or it's away from the ball and things like that. And you have these ghost flags coming out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It could be bad. I mean, that would definitely get frustrating.
So-
I can imagine you have a beautiful ball and you think you get away with it, and there's a ghost flag somewhere because someone calls it from
So
100 feet up in the.
so I have this question for you, since since you're saying somebody does this for that. What about holding? Well, like obviously
Yeah, and
offensive
that's
line.
that's the.
Yeah, like obviously an offensive line is going to hold every play. It's whether or not they're able to be discreet about it. And this is where you also reach the gray area, because then you're saying, "Oh, well, if we're not going to call, if we're going to call pass interference, we might as well call all the penalties," which then makes blocking a lot harder because you have holding every play, as I said before. But there's all these separate, small penalties or whatever that can be challenged that just are never called. But you know, you really care about the big penalties, though. So to what extent would this be,
I feel
and
like it needs to
why?
be. It definitely needs to be during game time. Like game deciding, like fourth quarter,
Well,
last 2 minutes.
if you
Anything
think
in
about
the
it,
2 minute warning can be like scrutinized to ill intent as much as it wants to be.
I think the only solution that they could possibly have would be, and I don't like it by any means, but if you give a coach an extra challenge flag, or even challenge flag that is directly correlated to calls such as this, and if you waste it early in the game, well then you're SOL for the remainder of the
well,
game.
does that? But like I said, what penalties does it qualify for? Because you can always draw up some BS penalty that
I feel like it should. I feel like it should definitely be considered anything. I would say like with the ball carrier or an attempted ball carrier.
So holding, right? Would holding count?
Holding would not. Now defensive or an offensive holding would, but I feel
That's
like, and even then maybe you shouldn't be able to call it unless that receiver's targeted. I feel like that might be a
I
good
mean,
play. Like if
I
if
feel
it's
like
defensive
go
holding on
ahead.
the other side of the ball, if you
Yeah.
get defensive holding on the other side of the ball, the quarterback needs to be smart enough to realize, hey, there was holding there. There's no flag down. I'm going to throw it to him so we can challenge it. Or he has to look to the other side of the field where there was maybe no penalty thrown, or maybe
Well,
there was no foul.
why would you throw it in the direction of holding if you're not 100% that it's going to be called?
Well, that's why you have the flag. The same reason that Aaron Rodgers, every time there's a false start or a offsides on defense, he goes and heists the ball real quick so he gets a free play out of it. If a quarterback can be smart enough to outplay the system, I mean, more power to him, I guess.
But like I said, I just don't understand the system that you've created, because it's just like you're valuing some penalties over top of the other in favor of
I,
you know
it could
in
be any
favor of
penalty. I'm just saying
no,
if
no, no,
people ball.
in favor of an already overpowered offense. So oh, say somebody gets grabbed by the face mask, big deal. They just got they got away with it. Like I said before,
That would be included in the penalty, I believe.
but like I said, human error is part of the game. It's always been a part of any game, any sports game that's happened. Human error has been a part of it. it I mean, I'd say basketball has probably the least amount of human error because you can't really have that much in it. But I mean, it's just like if you can't love that part of the game, then it's kind of like why are you a fan in the first place?
Yeah, so basically, there's nothing to be done. But what we can talk about and something that can be done is changing the overtime rules.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everybody can agree that the NFL should take I guess, a page out of the NCAA's playbook, and make it to where both teams get a chance to, you know, I guess, rebuttal each other in overtime. As Austin said, Patrick Mahomes didn't get a single shot to you know rebuttal Tom Brady or the Patriots running backs. He didn't get a chance to score his own touchdown and further the game. And yeah, it'll shorten games, but is it like I don't want a shortened overtime game. I want a shortened like commercial time.
Well, it's
Well,
kind of funny that
honestly,
you mentioned the NCAA because actually, as of today, reports came out that say that they're actually thinking about shortening their overtime.
Well,
Which
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just saying that I think to me, you're about to upset your fans a lot because just looking on Twitter this year, watching all these games go to overtime in the NCAA, they said this is why this is better than the NFL because of this right here. Is because teams have a chance to just go all out and win, and if they change that, then I think they're going to lose a lot of fans.
See the LSU and Texas A&M game when they went into overtime and it was like 30-30, and then it came out 72-74. Like it's an
Exactly.
amazing game. Like and it was high. Like it was high stakes, and especially with the rule that like you have to go for it for two after like the third or fourth overtime. Like I love that rule because it just adds an extra element into the surprise that can happen. Like I feel like the NFL should adopt this system rather than, oh, well, if you kick a field goal, then, the other team gets a shot. But, if you score a touchdown, that's game over. Like, that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, because you're not rewarding the best parts of each team.
Yeah.
Like,
I will
it's
say
important that you need to give it to both teams.
Yeah, I will say that I think that if a team scores on the opening kickoff, it should be game over regardless because, like,
if they return the kick.
Yeah, because that takes a lot of a lot of skill to do and a lot of luck to do it as well.
Well, like one interesting fact, and like I'm all on the train that it needs to be kind of changed a little bit, but since 2012, since like I guess the revamping of these the overtime rules, the winner of the coin toss wins the game about 52% of the time.
Yeah, that's just not
pretty
fair.
dead even, almost as even as you can. Yeah, I know it's not. It doesn't say it like may not be as fair, but even then, of those 52, though not all those games. Overall, I guess 56 win off the first if they win the coin toss. 50 who lost, but of those people who win, they don't always win on the first drive either. 20 something, I think it's only like 20 or 25 of the games actually won on the first drive. So it is quite like a spectacle, I guess. It doesn't happen all that often, of course, but it is something that's important to the game. I feel like they should have a chance at it, but it's not necessarily a win. You win the coin toss, you win the game.
Well, for a team that – hold on just a second. With a team like Kansas City, with a high-powered offense and, a below-average defense, that kind of does make the difference, though, because I guarantee if Kansas City got the ball, they were going to score, and the Patriots would be, oh, that's a stupid rule or whatever because you can't find a happy medium. But, when you attack a team's – I guess it's also a jab at Kansas City because it's just like, hey, if you had a more well-rounded team and not just a one-dimensional team, you would be playing in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, I mean,
now,
I just think that's
these rules
so hard. That's just so hard and unfair to me. Like, you, at the beginning of the season, or I guess you're probably about the midway point, you know what kind of team you are, and you just got to run with it. So if I'm an offensive powerhouse, and I'm well aware that I can't do anything to help this defense, it is what it is. Then you're going to do everything you can to just make that offense as superior as you possibly can, and then you get put in a situation like this. It's in overtime, and you don't have a second chance. You don't get to throw your offense back out there to go and prove that we belong. You just the one bad thing that you can't do defines your whole season.
Oh yeah.
You had 4 quarters before that point to make it evident.
Well, they had to come back,
With that being said, Kansas City fired their defensive coordinator, and it's rumored that they might be hiring. Yeah, they might be hiring Rex Ryan as their defensive coordinator, which I'm kind of scared of that team if Rex Ryan is the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't see a whole lot going down, I guess, in the preseason. I don't see – like this year we see a explosion from the Browns becoming one of the worst teams to the best teams in the NFL. Or not the best, but a mediocre. I see a lot of the teams that are already strong getting stronger. One of the best. Yeah. The teams that are strong are going to get stronger, I feel like. I mean, like the Rams are for sure probably going to be a contention next year. The Patriots always are. Like the Chiefs still are. You do have a couple big free agency questions, I guess, but I feel like I don't know if that's enough to shake anything up at the time being. Of course, we still got a while's way out, and the draft is just now starting to get underway and predictions and things like that, along with draft picks and good stuff.
All right. Speaking of drafts, now is the time where people start coming up with all these mock drafts and everything like that. Um, I'll ask each of you, since my team doesn't have a a first round pick. We'll just ask the two that do. Who who do you want your team to target and why? And if there's anybody you hope that doesn't get picked, just so you can get them. So I don't know if this makes sense. So say you know Josh Allen falls to number 4 to the Bucks, but he's projected second to the 49ers. I don't know if that makes sense, but what kind of
Yes.
hope do you have in a player?
I guess I'll
You
just.
go ahead, get.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go first. I guess my big board. I really only have 3 players on it. I only want these 3 players. I could care less about anybody else that's popping up. So obviously, everybody wants Josh Allen. If he's there, you take him. He won't be there at 11 though for the Cincinnati Bengals, which is who I'm talking about. He's not going to be there. However, I think that Delvin White, out of LSU, could potentially fall. And if he slips, I would like to take him the most because I think that's probably that's the best player that I think could be at the 11th pick at that point. However, if he's gone and Allen's gone, Kyler Murray is our guy. And I
think that's a great choice. Put a little competition there with Andy Dalton there. We'll definitely see how that works out. Didn't you say that the quarterback coach that you guys just hired, or the offensive coordinator, wasn't there a connection with him and Murray?
No, not at all.
No, okay. I thought there might have been a connection somewhere down the road. I might have been thinking of something else.
No, I believe what
but as far
Alex
as the
said
Bucs,
earlier, not in this podcast, but we talked about earlier, is he's saying that bringing in a second quarterback coach to be the offensive coordinator could mean that they're trying to get a new quarterback and going in a different direction. Is what we discussed earlier.
What about why would you choose Kyler Murray over Daniel Jones, a guy who is he's not that flashy, but he's still projected to go pretty high. He's a mobile quarterback. He's not something that you guys typically see with Andy Dalton. But why choose Kyler Murray over Daniel Jones?
I'll tell you why. Okay, Cincinnati Bengals have lacked a lot of star power. You could say AJ Green's always there, and that's always nice, but he's injury prone. I think we don't take any risk as an organization. I think we need to go out and get this shorter quarterback, fresh out the Heisman winner. You need to spark the fan base. If you look at the Bengals games, the stands are pretty empty, guys. You need to do something to bring your fans back. And I think taking a risk such as this with a player who has bust potential but could be fantastic, you need to do something like that. You need to go out there, take a chance, bring your fans back. Strike a competition that everybody's paying attention to all year long. Your fans are intrigued all year long. You fill your stands up. And if he takes Dalton's position, I guarantee you it's going to be a lot of excitement around Cincinnati.
So I'm not sure if you've seen the video with Kyler Murray and AB,
I have 100% seen this video.
Okay, so do you think that somehow kind of influences where if AB wants to go to Cincinnati, if Cincinnati should get in the trade talks with AB, since the Pittsburgh GM, I can't remember their name at the top of my head, but they've stated that they didn't want Antonio Brown on the team the beginning of the preseason next year.
So the way I look at it is if you gave Antonio Brown the Bengals with AJ Green, and Joe Mixon, I don't think we're stoppable next year, in my personal opinion. But I don't think that they would ever trade any of their players to Cincinnati.
Just not an in division, yeah, where you have to play them twice a year. That's quite ridiculous. That doesn't happen very often, for sure.
But our offense would be an absolute powerhouse. That'd be nothing like it.
We talked about it a lot earlier too. That division is becoming a very scary division. You have both Lamar and Baker developing and just all the time getting better. I mean, defense is tough on all teams, Baltimore especially, Steelers especially. I mean, it's definitely a tough division, and I mean, the winner of that division will probably be like 9-7. I mean, it really will probably come down to that, or 10-6 or something along those lines.
Well, if I'm honest, the way I'm looking at it right now is the Browns as well as Baltimore have made their youth movements with their new quarterbacks, and they're coming up faster than anybody thought. And I'm just not sure that either the Pittsburgh or the Bengals, as currently formed, can compete with these young guys coming up. They have more energy. They're just our players are getting older. They're not aging as well. And then in 3 years, we're not even going to be close to them unless we start now. They will surpass us. Baker Mayfield will surpass everybody in this division unless people start now. Unless the organizations start right now. You got to get new guys, new players, younger players. You got to start right now.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about football's a lot like a game of chess. Like, not beyond just the game, but at that level, I mean, you're thinking years ahead. I mean, you see John Gruden trading for all these picks that are 3 years in front of him. I mean, it's all about how you set yourself up.
You never told me who you wanted to get for the Bucks.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like we're going to be rather boring this year, as we typically are around draft time. I don't see us making any big jumps. Maybe, honestly, I could see us maybe falling back, maybe getting a couple second rounders for our our early first, drop down a little bit in the draft, and get a couple in the second round. I would love to pick up Devin White from LSU, a linebacker, good guy. Like I said, led that LSU team, veteran on the team as well. I mean, that's something that would come in immediately and start for us. Another person I could see, Greedy Williams, if he falls that far, another LSU guy, corner, need the help. Our pass offense or our pass defense is atrocious, like one of the worst in the league. And other than that, all kinds of holes to fill and not enough spots. Johan Williams from Alabama, was Alabama's starting left tackle from day one, like when he entered as a freshman. So to be able to protect Jameis and things like that would be a huge help. If he's not available, I could see him going to the Jets. Greg Little from Ole Miss, big guy, played in the SEC, always tough competition there. So I believe in him as well. How do those picks sound to you?
I like that you're willing to admit that they're not going to do anything flashy and just move down and try to make some some good picks. Not any great picks, but a bunch of good picks, which sometimes do outweigh one great pick.
Yeah, our talent is there. Like, I mean, as far as like our big guys, like our talent wise, like receivers, our skill guys, it's there. It's just you need those connection pieces. I mean, the O lineman's important. Like, the defense is important in this league, especially in our division where Cam Newton, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan are all quarterbacks. I mean, it's something, if we're going to look to get out of fourth place, we need to solidify defense, and this is the year to do it.
So, a question I have for you. If Jameis has another year like he did this year, a subpar year, do you just abandon ship next year? Because next year's the year with Tua and Jake Fromm and, all these other great quarterbacks.
It is his contract year.
It
is his contract year. He's going through I think we are choosing whether or not to extend his 5th-year option. I believe we are. I keep telling that Jameis Winston needs a little bit of time. I don't think that Jameis Winston is holding us back. I feel like there are other things that are more important that are holding us back. I would rather grab better first-round talent that will help Jameis perform better than someone who I don't know. I'd rather stick with the evils I know at this point. We know what Jameis is. We know he's inconsistent. We know he's not the best thrower. We know he's an athlete, though. And we know that he can make plays when he's pressured sometimes.
So you're saying if you get the first overall pick next year, you're not taking Tua?
I'm not taking Tua. I'm not taking Jake Fromm. I'm not taking a quarterback.
Wow.
I don't think that will be the best thing for the team. They are great quarterbacks. They are. If we had first and second round or the first and second pick, yes, I would grab a quarterback. But I just think there are other spots.
Honestly, a QB that's being slept on right now is Drew Lock out of Missouri. And, he he's probably one of the best quarterbacks I've seen come out of the SEC for a while.
He's
He's
definitely more developed as a
strong. Yeah,
passer as
strong
well.
arm. He can get it right on the dot if he needs to. Um, but I could see maybe the Dolphins picking him up in the first round, but
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure because you need somebody other than Ryan Tannehill when you're the Dolphins, especially since Ryan
exactly.
he's missed the last 2 seasons due to an injury. So he's kind of got the Tony Romo syndrome where it's just like, wins enough, I suppose.
And I agree 100%. I think that's why I feel like Jameis isn't an issue like they would be for like the Dolphins or the Jags, like in the other Florida teams. I feel like Blake Bortles limits the Jags. Maybe I guess he could use some more receivers. I feel like Ryan Tannehill limits the Dolphins. I don't think Jameis limits the Bucks. I think the Bucks need to grow around him first. We're
I don't
not
know.
to
I
the
think
point
his
where he is
immaturity
hurt.
might be holding you guys back a little bit. And I'm
I
not
mean,
even
yeah,
talking about the football part. I'm talking about the
yeah,
off-field issues.
yeah, and like I said, he is he's definitely a special character. I mean, from eating W's and crab legs and things like that. Um, the sexual misconduct and everything is behind. They settled in court or whatever. I mean, and that's most cases do. Most cases don't go to a criminal trial anyways. He just wants to keep it hush hush. He'll sweep it under the rug, like most companies and most players and things like that happen do. I think he's got it behind him now. He's a father now. I mean, that's a big change for people and things like that. I think that will change him a little bit. If he can just stick to playing football. I'm not saying I'm not like by any means like pulling a like where LeBron said, "I'm not just going to shut up and dribble." But if he could stay out of the bad part of the news, that'd be great. If he could just be a smiling guy all the time and donate to charities and everything, that would be great. That's all I need.
Eat all the W's he
Yeah,
wants.
I have an honest
eat all the
question
W's
for
you
you.
want in silence.
Honest question for you.
Okay.
If this offseason rolls around and he's in the news again for something like this, do they move
Drop
on
him.
at that point? Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's what I
So
thought as well.
you need like a Kareem Hunt style drop him like nothing. You need to
Drop him like
drop
a
him
tot.
immediately. And honestly, I would be okay. Trade. I mean, just like they did with someone would take a chance on him. I mean, the Skins might. I mean, with how they picked up Reuben Foster.
And they
And
also don't
honestly,
have
this
Alex
offseason,
Smith.
yeah, yeah.
I am
Is Zeke
shocked
out
right
for
now.
next season as well? I know they don't have Alex Smith right now, but
What was that? I'm sorry.
So I am shocked right now.
Alex Smith, he still has a year though, right?
I mean, if it's a year, it's a year in the hospital.
Yeah, great
I,
point. Great point.
See, guys, I
But
don't. Okay, so Ray Rice hits a girl out of the league, offers to give his whole salary to charity if he just gets one more chance. Granted, him and his wife don't break up. They stay together. He does all that he can to prove that this was a one-time thing. I made a mistake. I'm trying to fix it, trying to be better. Kareem Hunt does none of that, and he's already being talked about being picked up again. Like, was the Ray Rice thing all for show? And now that they did it once, they don't have to do this anymore. They can give,
well,
anybody a job.
I feel like it's a difference between the type of career and where they're at in their career with Ray Rice and Kareem Hunt because Kareem Hunt just is a relatively new face. Like he's been in the league for 1 or 2 years, and Ray Rice at that point had been in it for at least 8. So like he was reaching the end of his career anyways, and he was just trying to
and
find a positive to end his career on.
while both of them were like, obviously they both had videos and everything like that. You can't deny that Ray Rice's was absolutely more violent and vicious. Like that one's hard to watch. Knocking his fiance or whatever out in the elevator and dragging her body to the floor and everything like that. Like,
He
and
didn't
it wasn't
drag her to the
necessarily
floor. She fell. He just dragged her out of the elevator. I mean, he was just trying to get her
dragged her out
out.
of the elevator though.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but Kareem Hunt
Yeah.
attacked multiple people in one video. So
And it makes it wrong. Like I said, the big thing is that it's a woman and things like that. And I don't think he directed anything at the. It's been a while since I've seen the video, to be fair. But I feel like a lot of it was he. A lot of it was he lot as well, and that's why I feel like everyone could have talked this through and figured this out, just like how Jameis had his issue. I feel like he was rather upfront. He had lied to the Chiefs organization about this, said it wasn't an issue, everything was resolved and things like that, and it wasn't. And I'm sorry, I'm checking one of the videos right now, but I don't know. I feel like the Kareem Hunt thing was. I feel like it can be a one-time incident. Kareem Hunt's been one of those guys that you see on Pepsi commercials, you see on different ads and things like that. He's a face to the whole league. Ray Rice
More.
kind of wasn't that guy.
Well, I guess just my main question is: do you think that there will no longer be such penalties that Ray Rice faced? Do you think it's going to be you get dropped from your team and then a few months later you're picked up again? Is this what we're
Oh no,
doing now?
no. I don't think so, because then you get the Zeke Elliott situation that he had last year, where literally it had been, it came out as like, there's not enough evidence to incriminate, but since it was still that, like, it was still a domestic abuse claim. I don't understand why he got 6 and Jameis only got 3, but
He was proved innocent of all things. Like, that's the part that really gets me.
yeah, like I mean, I guess some parts the NFL oversteps their boundaries. So like when there's video like that, yeah, obviously Kareem Hunt needed to be dropped whether or not he lied about it or not. You know, don't go along kicking people in the head. Like, it's just not, you don't do that.
I think I have a
But
solution though.
There needs to be
So
consistency.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. If they
yeah,
make a rule to where you face any kind of domestic, abuse, anything like anything really that could be, violent, off the scenes actions, you get this many games. It should not be up to, the commissioner or whoever to decide, oh well, that one's not as bad as that one, so we'll give him 3, him 6, and so on. Because I don't think that's fair. Abuse is abuse, no matter how you look at it. So it needs to be a clear and concise policy that says, if you do this, you're getting a minimum of, I don't know, 4 games. No, clear and cut. You get fined 4 games, and then
it's
the
kind
team
of
can drop
kind
you
of
from the
like
ball.
the PEDs. So like when a person first does it, I think they're suspended for like 6 games, and then second it's almost a whole season, I believe, and then third they're out for good. Like I
I
feel
think
like,
that
But yeah,
I think it would work nicely.
yeah.
but you see, everything's not always black and white with those situations. Just like you were talking about the Zeke Elliott thing. Turns out he was innocent, didn't do anything. But a lot of times, especially media-wise, media travels fast. Media travels hard too. Media wants like a hammer dropped immediately, and I don't feel like things like that necessarily. Like when someone might be proven that it didn't happen, or that they still claim their innocence and things like that. That you need to be able to understand of when something could go wrong. What happens when you falsely accuse someone of this happening? Like, does it?
That's a good
Are you
question.
relying on it? I must say, are you relying on it being going to a criminal charge? Because a lot of times these guys have a lot of money. They make this stuff disappear before it hits a courtroom.
Well, see,
They'll settle with lawyers and things.
my first thought was like, well, if it goes to court, if they proved innocent, then no penalty. But that cases like that could take months, years, however long.
Years, yeah,
And you have a good point that money can get you out of a lot of trouble. I mean, I
yeah.
guess really, yeah, you either have to go with, if they get accused, then it's 3 games, and then I don't know, maybe have an appeal process. I'm not sure,
But
because
when you
I
appeal it,
feel like that's
you
that's
get
the
double
thing.
the
They can
time.
appeal.
Yeah, when you appeal it, you get double
Yeah.
the time, which makes no sense. So
I feel like what the best thing to do is similar to what Reuben Foster did. The 49ers dropped him. That was their choice. As an organization, he had troubles with marijuana possession. Not a big deal, whatever. He was fine. That one got dropped. He did go to court for that and everything. But the other one was domestic violence. It got settled before going to court and things like that. But they still heard about it. They dropped him. The Skins picked him up. They put him on what's it called? The GM's like exempt list.
mhm.
What's the name for it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the
I
name
can't
of
think
it.
of it. Yeah, the leagues in like I feel like if anything like this, the reserve commissioners exempt list, that's what it's called. I feel like if anything like this comes up in the media, automatically get put on the list, whether or not you did it or not, until they investigate. Once the investigation occurs, then they can determine if it happened and everything like that. I feel like regardless, while it's going, you can't have a rumor about domestic violence going on. Even like with James Winston, I'm okay with it. With a sexual assault going on, you can't have this question about whether or not he did it and then him playing football at the same time. He needs to be off the field until it's figured out, because that's going to put his lawyer space to get this resolved. Everyone's going to be trying to get to the bottom of this and find evidence whether to relieve this person or prove guilt. But that too, you get in a little bit of trouble of a lot of times you're in this society anyways, you're innocent until proven guilty, but in that kind of situation, you're guilty until you're innocent. So you got to figure out how you want to run that. And do you let them play until it's figured out, or do you not let them play? But I just feel like it would be unfair to. I know it's not a big deal to. You should definitely not have your children looking up to athletes as role models, but they are public figures, and I feel like they could be held to not necessarily like more of a higher standard, because it's a private company, or maybe not private. I mean the owners own things and things like that, but it is a organization and a business, and I feel like you don't want that reflecting on your business.
All right. So we've talked enough about the drama and everything and in the NFL and policies. Now's the big question. Who do you have winning the Super Bowl and why?
The Rams. 75% of the reason I say that is strictly because I don't want the Patriots to win. The other 25% is that I think that they can come up with a balanced attack for the Patriots that the Chiefs just couldn't. And the Chiefs made it a good game. So if they can come with a more balanced attack, I think they can do it. With their defense and with their offense, they're really coming together and solidifying. And I just don't think that the Patriots, if they had that much trouble with the Chiefs, I think the Rams could take them.
I do not like. I had Jared Goff on my fantasy team. I don't like Jared Goff as a quarterback. He is not my favorite by any means. He's still young. He shows that. I don't like some of the decisions he makes. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to throw a lot, and it relies a lot on Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson, who's come under the limelight a little bit, I guess. But New England's run defense has always been real strong, and it's no exception this year. I really would like to see LA win. They sold out this year. I mean, they really did. They got Flowers from the Jags, and they got what's his name, Sue from the Lions, and things like or Miami. I mean, they absolutely showed that they wanted this more than anything, and I do want them to win. I like the story, I like the organization and things like that, and most of all, I really just don't like Tom Brady. I don't want him to see him win another, but I feel like it will be a good game. I feel like it'll be one of the most watched games in a while.
All right. So it doesn't matter what I say, but for sure I'm going with the New England Patriots because Tom Brady's 41 years old, guys. He's 41.
Okay, but earlier in the season, you were saying Rams all the way.
I was
saying Rams all the way, bud.
But I mean, it's Tom Brady. Like you can't deny the greatness, and you can't deny.
If I had to put money on it, if I had to go to Vegas, I would put money on Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But there's
we're
no
not
money.
Putting money down here. Yeah.
Oh no. I'm going with.
I want the Rams.
I'm swallowing my pride and saying that I was wrong and that the Rams were going to win the Super Bowl because I didn't realize that Tom Brady was still in the league because he's 41 years old.
Hold on. Wait. Can you tell me one more time? How old is Tom Brady?
He's 41 years old.
Oh, my God.
No, I mean, all jokes aside, Tom Brady is going to be Tom Brady, especially in the Super Bowl. There's a graphic going around, and it's showing like how many the amount of Super Bowl appearances each team has had, and Tom Brady's above them all with 8.
9 Super Bowl appearances.
Oh, okay, my bad, 9. So he has 9. So that's more than the Cowboys, Steelers, everybody in the league except for obviously the Patriots. But
some let's just go ahead and put this out there. That makes them the GOAT. Like there's no more question about it. That
Oh
makes him
yeah,
the
for
GOAT.
sure.
That's wild.
There's nobody
That
better
is
in
wild.
football than Tom Brady. Yeah.
For a 51 Super Bowl, 50. What is it? This is Super Bowl 52 or 53?
52, I believe.
Of 52 Super Bowls, where he wasn't even probably alive for 10 of them. He wasn't. I mean, I guess like if it's every year, he wasn't alive for 10 of them, but he's been in 9. And he's won 5. He's going for the Infinity Stone. He's going for the 6th to snap his finger and end the league. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
it
If
just
Does
he
he
wins,
blows my
retire if he
mind.
wins, though, guys?
What's that?
Will he retire if they
He
win?
should.
oh yeah,
I would
for
love to.
sure,
I would
for
love for
sure.
the
Because
over with, but
it's just poetic justice. Because literally, he's he won his first ring against the Rams in 2001, and then he's going out winning against the Rams again. Like just a slap in the face to an entire franchise in LA.
just
Like,
just saying. The last time the Rams and the Patriots played in the Super Bowl, the Bucks went to the Super Bowl the next year. I'm just saying, history repeats itself. So,
Well,
John
here's
Gruden
a
was
little
also your head
semi-hot
coach.
take. Here's a semi-hot take. Even if he wins, I don't see this man retiring. Did y'all see the videos he's been posting? The video which is like him and Gronk walking.
yes,
I don't
yes,
think he's done. I
it's
think he's got
great.
a lot of pride. I think
Tom
he's quite
Brady,
cocky, and I think if he wins,
absolutely.
he's coming back. I mean, until
There,
he's stopped, I don't think he retires.
there's no way Tom Brady loses 2 Super Bowls in a row. There's no way.
I think it is ridiculous. I mean, he's got this swagger about it. I guess he kind of finally figured out how to use Instagram. It's really what we're seeing here. But him and Julian Edelman are just both monsters. Did you see Julian Edelman posted a hype video before they played the Chiefs of Patrick Mahomes?
I heard
Like,
about it,
keep
but no,
doubting us.
I
See
didn't
what he
actually
does,
see
and
it.
then watch. Yeah, and then watch me. It is great. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's funny watching like Tom Brady sit there and look there and talk to the camera like, "Let's go," and you're like, it's the most unmotivational thing ever. Like, there's so many better motivational speakers. It's the only person I can think would be worse of a motivational speaker would be Bill Belichick. Like, genuinely, he would just be like, "Do better." That's what Bill Belichick would tell you. We're gonna
Just do
go
better.
be better.
Do better.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just do better. I mean, that's all he would say. But it is just absolutely astonishing what he can do. I mean, it really is. I mean, I just, I hope that he plays till he's 80 and my kids can see him retire or something. I don't know. I mean, one day
We're not
he's
really
got
talking
that
about the real
champion.
MVP though, guys.
Patrick
Bruises?
Mahomes, right?
No.
No,
Bruises.
sir. Tony Romo for sitting there and
Oh,
calling every play right before it happened.
it's beautiful. Like he did this last year too. And I think Alex was telling me earlier that he got a pay raise. He's one of the highest paid broadcasters now, or
He
whatever it
did,
may
in
be.
fact, yeah, he got a pay raise, and he's now the highest CBS analyst.
Well, I mean, when you sit there and
But
go, yeah, you got to go to Gronk right here. You got to get him one-on-one. You got to throw right to him. And the very next play, look at that. It's Gronk
Oh,
one-on-one.
for sure. If I'm a team, I'm
it's
asking him.
beyond, yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
it's beyond just like a lucky guess too. Because I was watching that game specifically when that happened and everything, and he said, "Well, you have to go. You put Gronk out here, and if he gets double teamed, then you throw it to Edelman here on the slant. If not, go to Gronk one-on-one because he's your best player." I mean, it's not like he just guessed, "Oh, Gronk's probably the go-to guy right here because it's third down." It was, "This is what's going to happen. This is the scheme that they're running. This is what they're doing," and that just shows that. I mean, he was a quarterback for how many years? I mean, it shows you that honestly the athletes that actually played the game and things like that who know the sport so well are really good at narrating it. I mean, what they've done for years.
Yeah, I mean, he even called the last play where he was like, "Oh, they've been in this formation before, but it's they didn't put the man in motion. Expect to run up the middle here, and obviously, run up the middle, touchdown, Patriots win." But as I was about to say earlier, um, if I'm a team, I'm asking CBS how much he's getting paid, so I can pay him double that as a head coach.
I don't know about head coach, defensive coordinator, maybe.
I don't know. I think Alex is onto something. I mean, I think that he has shown that he's a football genius, and it just really shows the reason he had to retire is because his body gave out, not his mind. He knows the game. He loves the game. He knows the game, and I think he could be a damn good coach.
I'll start a petition to fire Jason Garrett and hire Tony Romo.
You just don't want Jason Garrett anymore. You don't care who replaces him.
No. That's false. I care about who replaces Jason Garrett because it could be Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or Marvin Lewis. Either one of those two.
Got a good point there, sir. I'm surprised that Marvin Lewis isn't on our staff as something, like player personnel. Like, I'm shocked.
He's actually
gone. Yeah, he's actually gone. I don't know.
It's not gonna be real until pregame. Yeah, it's not gonna be real until like preseason when you actually don't see him. Like that's when it's gonna become real.
He's just on the sideline wearing a mask. Like he's still there. Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
All right. So just one of the main things I want to talk about is the Grizzlies have for several years had the same kind of core group of Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. It's a grit and grind group that they have and that they, set their whole team around. And as of today, they are accepting trade offers for both of them.
That's wild to me. I mean, I get the Grizzlies have been in a state of just kind of like averageness. Not even average, I would say. Like really just novice kind of basketball with really two great guys. And I feel like it's finally they got to the point the fan base and the ownership have said enough is enough. We got to try something different. I mean, they're beating their head against a wall and hoping something breaks. That's not like, and they're going to somehow jump in the rankings, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So what happened was they started 12-5, and then since then, I believe they're 7-22. So that's really bad. Like that's awful. And here's the thing: is Marc Gasol, although he's on a big contract, it's only got one more year after this one. So even if a team takes him, and it's a player option too, so he could decline it. So even if a team takes him, and you're worried about the money, he's gone in a year. This is where I would enter the Charlotte Hornets to get this man like yesterday. You get Marc Gasol yesterday as fast as you possibly can. You trade Batum, you trade whatever young guy they want, minus Miles Bridges, and a first-round pick, and you snag him, and you go to the playoffs, and you compete.
You're giving up a first-round pick for a guy that might not be there next year?
Hear me out. Listen to me very carefully with what I'm about to say.
But Jordan's the owner. Michael Jordan's going to get that
man. No. Listen to what I have to say here. Nicholas Batum, after this year, is still owed $50 million for 2 more years. And among every player for the Charlotte Hornets, his per 36 minutes is the fewest points as a starting small forward. That's bad. You get Marc Gasol and you give away a first-round pick to, at the very least, get Batum's contract the F out of Charlotte. That's a win to me. I don't care if the kid leaves, the 34-year-old kid. I don't care if he leaves because Batum's gone.
So, but like I said, like you even said, is it kind of too little, too late for both people, for Lopez and Conley? Is it too late because they waited all this time? Or yeah, my bad. Yeah, not Lopez. Jesus. But yeah, is it too little, too late? Because they're both pretty old, in age, especially 34, 35, around that age.
I hope they weren't old in carrots. You said they were old in age. I hope they weren't old in anything else.
Okay,
that would be weird.
I wish you could see my face right now. I'm not amused.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. I don't really know how old Mike Conley is at the moment. I do know that Marc Gasol is 34. I do know he's really old. But I still think I think he's like a top 12 center, though. Still, just because he's so smart.
You remember when you got Dwight Howard and he was a top 10 center too?
There's no answer there. Nothing that you can say to make him feel better right now.
Well, I mean, Dwight couldn't shoot threes or free throws, so this guy can.
Fair enough.
He's because we don't have an actual rebounder on our team or a defensive anchor. We lack, both of those, and I think it's why we lose a lot of the games. You plug in Marc Gasol, and look, hear me out. He doesn't have to be the secondary scorer. Kemba and Lamb have shown that, they're capable of doing that. So if you plug him in as your third option, tell him to play defense and grab some boards, I think it works out perfectly. You plug in Miles Bridges at starting 3. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited.
So speaking of trade rumors, do you see any like big deal happening? Minus the Grizzlies. Do you see any big deal like we saw last year? Where or not last year, but 2 years ago, where DeMarcus Cousins went to the Pelicans.
I still feel
Um,
like Love is still up for trade there for in Cleveland. Kevin Love. I feel
yeah,
like he's still on the chopping block up there.
I agree that yeah, I think Kevin Love is definitely. I think he's the biggest name circling around the trade block. But see, here's the thing. Your average NBA fan will agree with us that he's probably the best person being talked about. You look at the NBA executives though, and they're calling him a dinosaur. He's injured too much. He can't play that well, and all this, which is to me is just false. This dude's a hooper. He is hurt too much.
I mean, even then, we talked about it earlier in their season with the whole idea. I mean, GMs might want to stay away from him because he's been very open and adamant about I'm not his health in general, and not just physical health, but his mental health. How he doesn't feel like he can do it as much longer. And I mean, when you're talking about an investment in a guy's body and mind, and he doesn't know how he's going to feel from day to day. I mean, that's big time. If
yeah,
that
I
was
mean
taking any effect at all.
that's an incredibly good point. I think the real determination though is he has yet to come back from injury, and it's as of today, it's January 23rd. The trade deadline is February 7th ish. So to me, if he comes back in these next few weeks and plays solid, he'll probably be traded. But he has to do that. I don't think any team's going to trade for him without seeing him play this year.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I agree, and it's kind of the same with Markel. It's all in the same basically. He's still in rehabilitation. He just now came back to Philadelphia to do rehab with the 76ers after he did his own private ones. But I don't see him being back by the trade deadline. I just don't see it. So honestly, if I'm the 76ers, I pick up his team option, and then I trade him next year because it's Markel Fultz. Like, he's a young guy. I'm sure a team like the Suns might need him, you know, or the Mavs, I guess, or anybody else could use him, especially if he's a first round pick and they see his potential for possibly a first round, maybe a lottery protected pick.
I'm actually excited to see Markel when he returns, which I don't know when. I do know that he's back with Philadelphia from where he was rehabbing, and he's
Yeah,
continuing
yeah.
rehab in Philadelphia. If this was a serious problem, and I'm just going to go ahead and say for the sake of my entertainment that it was, and if he comes back and it's fixed, I'm excited. I want to see what this kid's got to play with, and I think he could take Philadelphia to the next level. And no one's talking about this. Zaire Smith is still sitting on that bench injured.
Oh
He'll be
yeah,
there
yeah.
next year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's out for the rest of the year, if not the rest of it, or most of it. Zaire Smith is an athlete, an amazing athlete, and I've been waiting to see what he can do. And obviously, he got hurt in the summer league, but I'm waiting because if Markel doesn't work out, then we already have his backup ready, and if the backup doesn't work out, then we got Landry Shamet, and Shamet dropped 20 points against the Rockets, and I mean, yeah, it wasn't that great of a stat line because he only had like 6 assists, but I mean, when you're playing with Joel and Ben, and well, Jimmy Butler didn't play against the Rockets, but when you have that much star power and are still dropping 20 points a game, that's saying something about him as a player.
That's something you guys need as with the 76ers organization. You need a shooter. You need someone that's going to have to take a shot because right now you have no outside threat. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Well, yeah,
There's
it's solely
there's
JJ
very
Redick.
little. Yeah,
I mean,
and,
we,
and
yeah.
JJ just can't. I just don't think he can handle that amount of touches.
Is he even signed for next year, JJ?
Uh,
Because I'm not sure that he is. And if he's not, a lot of teams are going to want him because who wouldn't want a fantastic shooter? And if you lose him, then yeah, you better be calling up, Smith
Oh,
Shamit
yep.
and Markel to get their shit together.
Yep. This is JJ's last year on contract with us.
Yeah, so to me, it is very important that you develop those young guards
For
as
sure.
fast as possible.
For sure.
I do think that he loves the city though and the team, so he probably will resign. But like the Lakers, they could use a JJ Redick. There's gonna be teams out there that are like, yeah, let's go out there and get this guy. We got more money. Let's throw some money at him.
I feel like sorry. I feel like the Lakers are pretty happy though with kind of lineup they have. I mean, Kuzma and Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma both played very well against the Rockets without LeBron. And I believe they ended up losing the game in overtime.
Yeah, they did because Lonzo, I believe, got injured in the fourth quarter. He rolled his ankle. And I believe if Lonzo hadn't got hurt, they would have won the game because at that point he had 11 assists with most of the quarter still left. So they had to bring in Lance Stevenson, and he ran point guard for the entire overtime and the rest of the fourth quarter. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm taking Lonzo over Lance Stevenson all day.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I like Lonzo's an all right kid, but he still needs some time to develop as a shooter, anyways.
Right. I mean, he's never going to be a shooter.
Yeah, I know, but even the 11 assists, if he's not shooting, he needs. I guess you said he was hurt by the beginning of the fourth.
Yeah, and his ankle touched the freaking floor.
I'll give him.
Yeah, it was very nasty.
I'll give him that one then.
He'll be okay. Honestly, for his career, he'll probably be like 8, 8, and 8 guy. That's not bad though. That's not bad. That's something you could use. That's what your point guards are supposed to be doing. This is just like the era where point guards are score first. They used to not be like that, guys. They used to be pass first, and that's the kind of point guard, outside of Kemba Walker, because that's my guy that I enjoy. I want the guy who's looking for the open man. But I'm not gonna.
That's why I've always been a fan of Rondo, is because even at Kentucky, he was a pass first guy. He would always try and find his teammates first.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love Rondo, the aggressiveness, that dude's gonna be an NBA head coach, and if he doesn't, he's wasting talent. Like,
he's gonna be he'll be the head coach in Louisville when we get a team.
I'm down for that, but he'll be trying to fight the players. I know for sure he'll be scrapping with them in practice.
He'll be a.
You're telling me Michael Jordan doesn't still practice with Kemba?
I can confirm that Michael Jordan has only stepped in on one practice this year, and he did play a scrimmage with the team, but it was only happened one time. Michael's never there, guys. Michael's never there. I think he's been to like 4 games this season, and he smacked Monk in one of them.
The father-son abuse.
And the other game, he was shaking his head disappointment because we blew a lead. I think it was the Knicks game where we blew like a 20-point lead.
Speaking of, the Knicks are looking good. Sorry. Excuse my language. Yeah, sorry. The Nets.
The Nets.
The Nets. I'm so sorry. I said it and then I'm like, that's not what I meant to say. I was looking for a good segue and it just didn't pop up.
Yeah, I mean,
the Nets have been.
Yeah, they've hit a hot streak. Especially after they've played the Celtics, and the Celtics tried to mount a comeback, and the Nets still won, obviously. But yeah, like ever since that game, they've just been on a hot streak, and I honestly can't wait to see like them, go on this streak, because this could be a streak that gets them to the 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs.
I'm sorry, what? What'd you just say?
That keeps them in the 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs.
I'm sorry.
And bump Charlotte up to like the 6th, right? The 6th seed.
I mean, if Charlotte doesn't have a big man, they might be looking on the outside.
Hold on. What team did you say could get into the playoffs? I'm sorry. What team?
The Nets.
Ah, okay. See, I thought you said the Knicks, and I was like,
oh no.
Okay,
no, not them. No, the other New York.
I did
team.
it first back. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no. The Nets are hot right now. D'Angelo Russell is making the Lakers look real stupid for giving up on him so quick. I mean, he got Eastern Conference Player of the Week last week. He's dropping 40 points left and right. and I believe they're the 6th seed right now. Heat are 7th, and we're 8th. Is that how it's rolling
Yes,
out?
right. Currently,
Yes.
that's how it is.
Yeah. So I mean, I could honestly, I don't think we'll be a 6th seed. We'll be a 7th and 8th, and I think the Nets are a better team than the Heat. So I'm
Either
gonna
way,
leave
it's
that
going to be
out
a
there.
first-round exit, right?
Oh, probably. I would assume so. I think the Pacers are playing good basketball. It'll be hard to beat. The Bucks, 76ers, Toronto, hard to beat. I think Celtics are vulnerable though.
Oh, I don't want to go against the Celtics. That's the only team that we can't beat for some reason. Like, the only team that we can never beat. We can beat every other team except for the Celtics. So I just hope that we never have to play them again.
Well, every team's got a kryptonite. I would like to check in with Austin here. We are
Yes, sir.
past the midway point. Have you claimed an NBA team yet?
I have not. Right now, honestly, I'm enjoying just watching basketball. It's something I haven't been able to do really ever. I've never been a huge basketball guy by any means, but just the other day I was watching the Lakers Rockets game. I watched last night it was actually Monday night, I believe, when the Pelicans beat Memphis without AD. So that was good to see as well. I have not claimed the team yet. I have not. I feel like I'm gonna pull a Bucks and I'm gonna pick a team that's gonna be bad and then I have to defend their actions for years to come. And I just
Hey
don't
man, I
want
did
that.
it with Charlotte. I took it. I'm still
Yeah,
getting hate for it. Like
it's rough.
people, why are you a Hornets fan? Man, I don't know. I didn't want to be a bandwagon fan. But so you have no preference, and you just turn the TV on and you just pick a
I
team?
I try and find. Even you could ask Noah, a guy's been on our podcast a couple times. He came over tonight, and I literally said, "What's an NBA game on?" It's like, "Oh, you only got NBA TV." Well, not anything obviously, but we watch basketball. We watch college basketball at least. I mean, we watch some sort of basketball and learning the game a little bit more, and actually just like getting a flow more for things and along those lines.
All right. Well, by the end of the season, I want you to pick a team.
All right,
All right.
all right. I'll have a team. I will let you know with my progress how that
It is
works out.
much more fun and much more aggravating to have to watch just and support one team for 82 games and know what that's like. It's a lot of fun though. You just want to hurt yourself every now and then, cry, laugh.
Every now and then.
We just will defriend you if you choose the Warriors or the Lakers.
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
the
You
only
can't do
team
any
that-
of those.
yeah,
Or the
that's-
Knicks.
yeah,
Or the
all
Knicks.
the-
You can't choose the Knicks unless they don't get KD.
Or Boston. Don't do Boston either.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
yep. Those are the 4 teams you're not allowed. And
Alright.
one, you're not allowed to choose big market teams, basically, except for Philadelphia, because that doesn't count.
You can't choose
That's-
Philadelphia.
that's-
You can't choose his team.
that's a huge
And the people listening who are thinking, well, Alex, you're a 76ers fan. Tell them that you're a real one.
And a Dallas fan. Like, I've caught so much shit for being a Cowboys fan and somehow miraculously being a 76ers fan. I mean, I've been a Sixers fan since the year before they got Joel, which is when I first got into like professional basketball. Beforehand I was just like, Jamal played at Kentucky. I'll be a Wizards fan, or Patrick Patterson. I was a Rockets fan for a little bit.
You were a
But-
Rockets fan.
Yeah,
but I
and then
remember
they
that.
got rid of Patrick Patterson, and I was like, huh.
I
he
was
fell
actually
off.
an OKC fan for about 2 weeks. And then that's when I was like, no, I want to pick like an up and coming team. I don't want to just, this team's already at that point, the big three, which weren't a big three at the time, we're still there. It's James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook. And I didn't want to do that to myself. I didn't want to be that guy.
I didn't want to be that guy.
So I knew who MKG was. I knew that the Bobcats would be turning into the Hornets. So I went with it.
Well, see, my tactic was I chose literally the worst team that year, so I couldn't be considered a bandwagon, and I just fell in love with them. They tanked the way into my heart.
That's genuinely that's poetry right there. Genuine.
Austin, just be a Hawks fan.
Hey, I mean,
It's-
that's not a terrible idea because Atlanta's not that far away. I
yeah,
believe Trey Young's on your fantasy team already, anyways.
yes, Trae Young is.
And those city jerseys are pretty heat. I mean, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but they're nice. And John
I
Collins
mean,
is there.
and Carmelo played for the team, so at one point he was. I'm not saying he is. I know he was at one point.
Well, that's a pretty good transition. Why don't we talk about that? Carmelo basically becoming a free agent this week.
I don't understand why they had to put him in that trade at all. If he's just going to be literally released once he goes to Chicago, why even include him? Like, I get you might need to clean up a roster spot, but you could just release him and then do the trade.
I'm unsure why Houston didn't just cut him, like didn't just waive him. Like,
I bet it's because Chris Paul didn't want them to cut him. He just didn't want to hurt his friend's feelings. I honestly can't think of anything else besides something like that. They didn't want to do him wrong. Because neither team got anything out of that.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago literally just bought out his contract. Basically, they gave him money for Carmelo and then released him. Like, there was no point in that. You just wasted your own money. I mean, I guess to an NBA team it really doesn't matter because they make a shitload of money. But I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. You're wasting your money on a player that you're literally just going to release, and I guarantee the Lakers pick him up.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine anybody picking him up besides the Lakers because he seems to be a cancer wherever he goes. But LeBron is LeBron. LeBron gets his guys, and I'm not knocking LeBron. I love LeBron, but it's gonna roll like that. Like Carmelo will be a Laker before the end of the year.
The banana boat crew.
Yeah, mine is Chris Paul. But I mean, it's not gonna make a difference. I don't feel like. I feel like honestly, he might be in the same position in LA that he was in the Rockets. They're gonna try it out a few games, realize, oh, he's washed.
He's a bum.
Yeah, he's a bum. He can't shoot that well, and he definitely can't play defense. So
for sure not. He never has. He
just doesn't know how.
I mean, I guess it all started when the Nuggets drafted him. Like, that's when his career just really took a downhill turn. And then he excelled in New York because he was literally the only person on the team. Like, he had nobody else. And then, he's just like, oh, yeah, I get to shoot wherever I want, whenever I want. And then he got moved to OKC, and he actually had to share the ball, and they just got tired of it.
I am sad that OKC thing didn't work out.
For sure. I was expecting a big three out of OKC. But, I mean, they still technically have it with Steven Adams, which is a monster.
What doesn't get talked about? I love Steven Adams.
Oh, yeah.
I love Steven Adams.
For sure. He's one of the most underrated big men in the league right now. Like, he doesn't get talked about enough as an elite big man.
I saw that tweet talking about how he needs to be an all-star. I legit voted for him almost every time I voted. And I voted like once a day. And every other day at least, he got my vote because he just does all that shit that you need a center to do. And he'll pick you up off the ground. He'll scrap with somebody if he needs to. Like,
oh yeah. He's one of those like, oh, I'm not afraid to get dirty type of players. Like, not like fight dirty, but like, he's not afraid to hustle for a loose ball or something like that. Like,
somewhere between Draymond and AD.
He's not dirty.
He's not. No, he's not. He's not. Yeah, I didn't mean dirty by like Draymond dirty, but he was the one that made the picnic. He didn't bring the napkins.
Gotcha.
He did bring the napkins.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Speaking of napkins.
I understand now.
Speaking of napkins.
I gotta know. Hold on. I gotta know how this segue starts. I have no idea how this is relevant anyway, but I'm excited.
How scary is Golden State right now?
I'm terrified. I really am. I'm scared. I was watching. I actually didn't watch the first game, but I saw the highlights. I think he had 14 points. He hit 3 out of the 4 threes, and he had 6 boards. In the second game, he had like 9 and 8.
Yeah.
Which you look at that and you're like, oh, that's not great numbers. But it's DeMarcus Cousins coming back from an Achilles injury where he's the 5th option right now.
Yeah.
And as soon as he gets in a rhythm, like, I'm scared, guys.
For sure. After I saw him dunk the ball against the Clippers, first basket back, I was like, oh, God, rest in peace, because
That
they're winning it.
moment, like, oh, God.
They actually did it. I was expecting. I was like, oh, there's no big deal. DeMarcus Cousins can't help that team. Like they're they're already at their final form. Little did I know the joke was on me. They're winning another ring this year.
I just didn't know that he would recover that fast, that well from that injury. Like coming out, posterizing on the first play. I was like, oh no. And then he went 75% from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, guys. And he had like 3 assists.
Yeah. And then he made a comment recently about about like staying in New Orleans. He said that he loved it in New Orleans. Like he wished he would have stayed. It's just, and I quote, people had other things in mind.
They gave you $40 million. You turned it down. I'm not listening to this sob story. Like, I get it. You wanted more. It didn't happen. You should have taken the $40 million.
Oh yeah. Well,
but he can sign there next year, though.
Oh yeah, but I don't think for him I don't think it was a financial move, because obviously if it was a financial move, he would have taken the $40 million and just kept his mouth shut for half the year. But I feel like it was more of like, you need to help me and Anthony Davis, because without that, like we're not going, like we can't win a championship if we don't have help. We need that help. We need that other missing piece to help us get to the next step. Because I mean the Pelicans, they lost in the first or second round last year?
No, they swept the first round. They lost in the second round.
That's right. So like,
which I believe they're swept by Golden State for the umpteenth time that they've played Golden State in the playoffs and got swept.
So I just think that DeMarcus Cousins was just talking about, like, he needed somewhere where not financially, not financially. I don't know how to say this. Basically, he didn't want the money; he wanted the ring, and that's why he only took the $5 million or whatever that Golden State offered him.
Which is why I think he'll probably get a ring, be satisfied, and go take a contract elsewhere. I don't see him saying Golden State, and if he does, I'm just gonna weep for the entire NBA.
I think that he goes to LA, honestly.
How many people are you expecting to go to LA?
All of them.
Every player in the NBA.
We said something about Markelle Fultz.
No.
Carmelo's going to be there.
No. I said Markelle was going to Phoenix. Well, no, I just think that everybody wants to play around LeBron. And especially in the LA environment where you can have the opportunity of the Showtime Lakers, like everybody's going to want to play in LA. Everybody wants to play with LeBron. Everybody wants to play in LA. It's a big market. It's a big name. Why not?
I understand. Like I say, we talked about earlier how 19-year-old kids don't want to go and play in Cleveland. Like they'd much rather play in New York, and I feel like that's why the Knicks we've talked about before with KD going to the Knicks, that's an option. I mean, and at this point, maybe even with the Nets. I mean, the other New York team, that they could be more successful if you get a lot more talent because of the curb appeal, is what I guess we'll call it, of what kind of city and kind of environment that brings. All right, guys, I think we're pretty wrapped up on sports news. Is there anything else you guys want to wrap up with, or?
No, I think I'm good.
No, I'm good as well.
Good. All right, awesome. Good to hear. Thank you guys very much for listening. This has been the Final Buzzer Podcast, coming at you every week with the latest, greatest sports news. This is the Final Buzzer Podcast.
Buy our merch.